Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Hockey Chat, live from Hucknall in Nottingham. Great to have your company, and I can see questions still coming in on Twitter, so you can still send them in. You've got the chat box on the right, or you've got the Twitter at John A. Bullard, which you can use as well. Just wait for a few more people to come along, and then we will get started in earnest. If you could tweet the link out, that would help enormously, so we can get as many people in here as possible. I've just popped the link on Twitter, so if you could go and retweet that from my Twitter at John A. Bullard, I would be most appreciative of that. Thank you very much. Lots of questions tonight. So we've got some around Glasgow Clan. We've got some around crowds, especially at Panthers, but I think it will relate to most teams in the Elite League. We've got a couple of questions around Cardiff's current form, and we've got also a couple of questions around Great Britain squad next year. And Panthers banter is here. Good to see you, mate. Thank you for joining in, and I have got your question lined up for very shortly as well. So we will get cracking on them. We're going to start with a very serious question, and it comes from my very very good friend Chris Lovell, who is a Belfast fan and is also. Who won't mind me saying, because I have spoken to him about it. He's also gay, and it relates to something that happened on Twitter earlier today. I believe it may have been yesterday, but there was a tweet from Manchester Storm regarding the shirts they're going to be wearing this weekend, which are with their home doubleheader. They are going to have a remembrance shirt, which will be, I think, sold off for British Legion and poppy charities and that sort of thing. And somebody tweeted to say that all clubs in the league should do this. And there was a reply from someone. I'm not going to name them. I don't think it's fair to have a witch hunt, but they replied saying yes, better than having a gay day one. And Chris, being a gay man, and a good friend, has also asked a question around this. And he says, what can the league do, and clubs specifically, to combat moronic old school views such as this? And we've been having a conversation about it on WhatsApp all night. And I said to Chris, do you think that the person in question should be banned? And he said, not for a first offence, no. I think perhaps someone needs to have a word, remind him while he can have an opinion, he needs to be respectful towards others. To which I replied, I agree, and I do agree with that very much. I think if you start banning people for having an opinion, however unpalatable it is, and that is an incredibly unpalatable and unpopular opinion, then you start to go down a dangerous road. But there is a flip side, which he says, is it okay for a group of LGBTQ people to feel unwelcome based on the actions of one person? Why should one person continue to enjoy watching the game live while their presence may make LGBTQ people feel they can't go and enjoy it? It's a hard one. And it's really difficult. I think education is the key here, personally. I do think that the person in question shouldn't have put that out on social media. One thing that was, in a way, pleasing to see, he did get a bit of abuse, but he got a lot of comments, mainly I wouldn't say attacking him, but just basically telling him to go and have a word with himself. Incredibly unpalatable opinion, not a popular one in this day and age. But on the other hand, perhaps because those views are still prevalent in society, is exactly why we need a Pride Day or a Pride weekend within the EIHL. Hockey is for everyone. Everything is for everyone. Everyone is equal, or should be. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people who don't think like that. And while other people don't think like that, then these issues have to be raised, and there has to be awareness around this. I mean, don't forget that homosexuality is still illegal in some countries around the world. You can actually get, I think in some it's actually punishable by death, which is abhorrent. To think that there's some countries in this day and age that punish that with death just doesn't bear thinking about. So there's obviously a lot of education that needs to be done. And it's a very, very difficult and a very, very sensitive subject. And I appreciate, I really appreciate Chris sending in the question. And I appreciate him sharing his opinions with me and also allowing me to share those opinions with you on the stream as well. Because it obviously must be very, very difficult for him. And Chris is there. 70 countries have yet to legalise homosexuality. It's crazy, 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 crazy to think of that. That's nearly half the countries in the world, I think. Actually, no, 197 countries. Yeah, nearly. So 40% of the countries in the world. Come on, it's 2021 for God's sake. It just doesn't bear thinking about. So those views and those attitudes are welcome. And two, I think there needs to be a lot more education around it, and also examples of the I wouldn't say offence, but the hardship and the I suppose uncomfortableness it can cause for people from that community, knowing that they're in the same place as people who share their views, and there needs to be a lot more education done. And to finish, it shows exactly why there has to be Pride weekends, not just in hockey, but throughout society. And and hopefully, in my lifetime, attitudes will change where it doesn't matter and everybody is considered equal. Let's hope so. Let's end that bit on a positive. Let's hope that attitude can change. Anthony Russell, the KHL is playing a game in the country where being gay is illegal, but yeah, EIHL and the Pride Night is the issue. That tweet was so daft. The Chuckle Brothers sued it. Well, one of them did. We'll leave that one there. Okay, we'll move on to three questions. There's actually quite groups of questions tonight that move along the same subject. And this is around tickets and attendances. So starting from Panthers Banter, I think he's on, and he certainly was earlier. And he says thoughts on the half-season ticket. So for those that don't know, Panthers have brought out a Panthers Pass, I think they called it. So it's a half-season ticket, but it's a bit better because it's for 14 games out of a 25-game season ticket. So it's a bit more than a half-season ticket. Do you think it was a natural introduction, or do you think that the club is concerned about attendance and is trying new tactics to change this? There's also a sales executive position that's been advertised incoming too. I wouldn't be surprised if the sales executive position has probably been filled, because this is exactly the sort of thing I would be expecting a sales executive to be looking at. I think a half-season ticket from the Panthers is long, long overdue, and I think it's a positive. And I'm sure there is concern about attendance because attendances are down. I don't think they're down massively, but they are certainly down. And I think it's a good move because, one, it's a cash injection at this time of the season, which could be used towards team building or bringing in more players at a crucial part of the season. Also, what it does, it means that people then have a season ticket that can be renewed the following season, as opposed to game by game. So it could create more season ticket holders for next season. So on that basis, idea, and I've got to take my hat off to the Panthers for bringing it in. It's something that's been talked about in previous seasons. Why don't we do it? I think obviously there is a concern that the attendances aren't as high as they probably have been in the past. So they're doing something to try and increase that. Absolutely great idea, and I'm pleased they've done it. This leads on to other questions, though. Steve Grosh asks, how do you get more fans through the door? And Karen Wynne Jones goes, it was obvious on Sunday that season ticket holders are willing to pay virtually full price for a Challenge Cup game. particularly when it's a dead game for us. Panthers have already qualified for the next stage of Challenge Cup. Do you think that a £10 added ticket or less should have been offered for cup games or games played as joint league and cup again? No, I don't think games should be played as joint league and cup because I think that's a massive step backwards. But I do think there should be ticket offers for the Challenge Cup games because I've gone bang on about it. It is ludicrous that that there are so many games just to get rid of one team for the quarterfinals. It's ridiculous, but yeah, it is what it is. I haven't gone to a Challenge Cup game yet. I don't think I will because I don't see the point of paying full price when they're you're pretty much qualified from the first game. It's just ridiculous. So on that basis, yes, I think there probably should be some ticket deals for them Challenge Cup games. I've just seen Panthers tweet about Saturday. Saturday is a Challenge Cup game against the Steelers, and they're going 2/3 of the bowl is sold. I mean, normally Panthers Sheffield a few days before it will be almost sold out. So it just goes to show that there is a reluctance to buy tickets for it, especially. But both Nottingham and Sheffield are qualified. So what incentive is there? What is there to go and watch that match? I don't know. And Steve Grosh, how do you get more fans through the door? I think on that, and relating to Karen's question, and also Tommy Panthers Manta's question, is there's still a lot of uncertainty or a lot of reluctance because of COVID. COVID hasn't gone away. Most people are now double jabbed, which is great, but there are still people. Who are reluctant to go. A friend of mine is a season ticket holder. He doesn't want to risk catching COVID, and you can sort of understand that. You can understand the reluctance. I've seen lots of people on Twitter from all clubs tweet about it and say that they're not going because of the amount of COVID that's about. Like I say, I'm double jabbed, so I'm going, and I know that if I catch it, I probably won't get it too badly. But I still test myself regularly because what I don't want to do is unknowingly have COVID and then spread it out to other people like that. So I just test myself. It's just a common courtesy to other people. Lateral flow tests are free, so why not? I just think that's something that probably a lot more people should do. But obviously, if you're double jabbed, you are considered safe. But I think there's a lot of people still nervous about it, and I think that is what is keeping crowds down, not just at Panthers, but across the league. But I think Panthers have an older fan base as well, which probably leads to that nervousness. So we'll see. We'll see what the half season ticket does, and we'll see that if cases go down, if that increases tickets as well. But we should see. Let's have a look at the comments. Tommy says, I didn't go on Sunday, but the photos of the crowd look poor. Mixture of terrible CC format, COVID, double weekend. Please see them try and rectify it. Yeah, as am I. And I think the sales executive, although it's a tough job, it'll be a challenging job, but there's some. I'm hoping to see some new things and some positive things come through from that role. Those of you that know Paul Barr, my very, very good friend, he started writing again. He wrote an article today regarding that sales executive role and what maybe they should be looking at. Excellent article. paulbombwriter.wordpress.com. Go and have a look at that because it is a very well written, excellent article. So do go and. Staying on the Challenge Cup, and Nick Heron with a very challenging question for me, actually. He says, after seeing how much the opportunity Will Kerlin got with the Panthers in the Challenge Cup game meant to him, has your mind changed at all regarding your dislike of the format? No, it hasn't. But if the games meant more, would players like him get an opportunity to play? With a little appetite from fans in the UK to reduce the importance of the league trophy, are the group stages of the Challenge Cup not a great teams to love British youngsters. Yes, they are, and I think that is probably one slight positive you can take from this Challenge Cup group stage is the fact that we've seen the likes of Jack Hopkins, Morgan Clark Pizzo, Jordan Kelsall, and of course Will Kerlin get his first two Elite League starts and win them both. So I think on in that respect, it's been very much of a positive. Doesn't change my mind on the format because I think the format is ridiculous. Although Nick, you make an excellent point about if the format was different or more challenging, would Will Kerlin get more starts? Probably not. And like I say, it's an excellent point. But the format is what it is now. And I would like to see Will Kerlin in the 3 remaining Challenge Cup games get at least 2 starts from those 3, if not all 3. But I know we've got 2 Challenge Cup games this weekend, and then we go back into league action. Does Kevin Carr need a start to keep his eye in as such? We shall see. We shall see. I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Carr starts the game against Sheffield and maybe Will Kerlin starts the game in Manchester on Sunday. But we shall see what Tim Wallace has in mind for that. But in the respect of Will Kerlin, you saw from the highlights what it meant to him when he won that penalty shootout with that final save. Had a great game in his first start against Manchester as well. And that's what he needs. He needs opportunities, he needs starts. He's only going to develop and get better if he gets starts in the net. And he's taken the opportunity with both hands and performed very, very well. And that's what he said in his interview after the game, what he has to do. He has to take them opportunities and he has to perform at his very, very best, because then he will continue to get starts every so often. And that is what he needs to develop. So great in that respect, that he has got a couple of starts and won them both. And Hockey Fan 654321, who's a regular contributor every week, says, not so much a question, but how pleasing to see 2 young Brit goalies, Kerlin and Downey, going head-to-head in the Panthers Storm game on Sunday. Hopefully they both get the start again this weekend. They both seem to do well. I think Downey is in because I believe Matt Ginn is injured. I could be wrong on that, but I think he may be carrying an injury, so Downey is getting the starts as a precaution. But yeah, great to see 2 British netminders up against each other. We need to see more of that. I really, really do, and hopefully we will, because although the format is daft, and I've gone on about it several times, it does give that opportunity for young British players to be iced, and I hope the coaches take it. And it's good to see that quite a few are. So that's on that one. But thanks to Nick for putting. It's a great question that challenges my way of thinking. So always pleased to see questions like that. Like I say, if you have any questions, or if you've got any questions for next week, you can send them throughout the week at John O'Bullard on Twitter. If you've got any questions for tonight, same place at John O'Bullard on Twitter, or you can just post it in the chat box on here. Well, we've been going nearly 20 minutes, so let's crack on. Next question from David Stevenson. He says, I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts, opinions on next year's World Championship squad selection for Great Britain. With a number of ageing players and a squad selection that year on year is always very similar, who would be your dark horses to make the squad? I see what you're saying about aging players, David, but how could you leave out the likes of Jonathan Phillips, who just gets better and better the older he gets? Matthew Mize, who I think has had a fantastic start to the season with Panthers, he's been brilliant, and like he never went away from us. He's surely an absolute shoo-in for the squad. Not getting any younger, but while they're playing the way they're playing, how can you possibly leave them out? But as you were saying, for dark horses, there's a couple I've picked out. I think Josh Waller has got an excellent chance of making into the squad. He's had a superb start to the season, scored in the Champions League, scored in the Challenge Cup, scoring points in the Elite League, playing brilliantly for Cardiff. So I think he is a strong possibility for the squad. in May if he stays fit. Another one that I picked out, I think, is Joe Hazeldine, who was knocking on the door last time after he had such a great elite series with Manchester, and he's been starting defenseman several times for the Manchester Storm this season. Been showing a lot of faith by Coach Ryan Finnerty, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Joe Hazeldine in the squad either. I think as Paul Swindlehurst has retired, so that leaves that spot open. I think that could be a spot that Joe Hazeldine could certainly fill when the squad is being picked at the end of the season. Obviously, up to Pete Russell, but I can honestly see Josh Waller and Joe Hazeldine being in the squad as the dark horses, as you should say. Maybe not so much dark horses with the amount of ice time they're getting, but I think they stand a very good chance of being there in Finland in May. Let's next question. So these two relate to Cardiff and their start to the season. So off the blocker asks, is there a crisis in Cardiff? A few significant losses. And Andy Devils says, if I were a Cardiff fan, would I be worried with the team this year, or are some fans expecting too much after Lord? Evening, Scott, by the way. And it's an interesting one with Cardiff because they've had an awful lot of changes. A new coach, Andrew Lord, is obviously over in the EIHL with the Swamp Rabbits. And a lot of player changes. No more Joey Martin, no more Joey Haddad. They've had big changes at Cardiff Bay. And that rebuilding takes time. And I think the fans have got to be a bit patient. It's very rare that a coach who is brand new to the league comes in and hits the ground running straight away. I think there was only Ben Simon at the Steelers who came in and won a league, brand new to the league. And that was, 2010, 11, I think, off the top of my head. So 10 years ago. So Jared Scaldi's got a big job. He's got a huge shoes to fill in Andrew Lord. And I think he needs to be given time. Now, that's very easy to say as a Panthers fan looking from the outside. Obviously, if you're a Cardiff fan and you've been used to so much success over the past few seasons, and then you see your team struggling as they have been, it must be difficult. And I sort of get that. And I can see why there's probably a bit of an outcry from the fan base. And a lot of people saying, grateful, surely you expect too much. But why wouldn't they? They've been so successful in the past. Expectations are going to be unbelievably high. That's just human nature. But from the outside looking in, I think they need to be given a chance. They need to be given some time to rebuild because it is a big rebuilding job. Don't forget that they had such a huge core of players for such a long time. They were all used to each other. They could start the season, they all knew each other. A lot of that's gone now. So they have to rebuild again. And I'm sure what they'll do, Todd Kelman is a brilliant operator. The owners at Cardiff are incredibly supportive, and they'll probably be looking for that to rebuild that core and find a new core that they can build around. But that is probably going to take time, and it's certainly not going to happen overnight or over one season. So I think for everything that Cardiff have given the fans over the past few seasons, they deserve to cut the club a little bit of slack to try and rebuild and try and find a new core that they can build around. But obviously that's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. And you probably are going to get a few poor results. I did see Greg Hewish, who's been a contributor to these questions over the past few weeks, and a big Cardiff fan, lives in Scotland, went to the game against Fife on Sunday where they lost 3-1. But he said no problem with the effort. They all put the effort in. It's just if they not for them. And I think you can forgive a lot if the effort's there. It's obviously it's just not clicking for them at the moment. So I think Cardiff will come good again. but it may be a season or two before we see them back as that dominant force that they have been for over the past few seasons, which is the way I see it. But obviously, there's a long way for this season to go yet. So you never know. Jared Scalding might work some magic and get them clicking. It's certainly not looking that good for them at the minute. And next, another group of couple of questions which regards Glasgow. So for those that don't know, Glasgow Clan have cancelled some more home fixtures on the 20th and 27th of November, and also this weekend. One of which was a Cardiff game, which was the middle of a triple header. So I think they played Dundee on the Friday. They were due to play Glasgow on the Saturday, and then Fife on the Sunday. Obviously, that Glasgow one has gone. So Simon Mullett, who is a Cardiff fan, says poor showing by Glasgow, cancelling fixtures less than 2 weeks away. Is this acceptable, especially as the middle of a triple game weekend in Scotland for the Devils? On the other hand, we have a question from Linda Hansey, who is a Glasgow Clan fan, and she says, do you think there's been a slight overreaction to Clan's news today? They've obviously been working hard to get things sorted, but have had a lot of obstacles in the way. I can see both points of view. If you're a Cardiff fan, you're booked for that weekend, and all of a sudden, one of the games is cancelled with less than 2 weeks' notice, or less than 2 weeks' notice. Yeah, that is annoying. I can see why this is an annoyance, but at the same time, I think you've got to cut Glasgow a bit of slack. They've had to work extremely hard with their arena, with getting the lease for the arena, which was great news. See, they got the lease for 20 years, so we won't have that problem next season. And to be fair, I can see why there's sort of outcries within the Clan fan base, because they're going to have an awful lot of home games within a short space of time, and with 3 Saturday home games being cancelled, they're going to move to midweek, so that's not ideal. However, I think as Linda says, she put a hashtag, at least we've still got a team, and I think that's something that often gets overlooked. Yeah, there's been some Herculean work from Gareth Chalmers and the group there. Yes, their communication probably could have been better. I think expectations could have been managed a little better with regards to all this. But I can imagine it's not been an easy task to try and bring everything together so that everything works and everything is back on time. Is it ideal? No. Should they be a little slack? Yes, probably, because of the difficulties and the hoops they've had to jump through. I can totally understand why Cardiff fans would be annoyed. And I'm sure if it was Panthers in that position and I had tickets, I'd be annoyed too. But maybe we need to cut them just a little bit of slack because of the situation they've been in order just to get their team on the ice. But hopefully that's now all sorted. It seems it's all sorted, and they can start to build and build a strong franchise going forward. And with a 20-year lease, they've got plenty of time to do it. So good luck to them, they say. Another question from Off the Blocker, who says, does the individual scoring table show a worrying issue for Panthers? Highest is 10th, Ollie Betteridge, 4 in the top 50. That's from Off the Blocker. So, yeah, I think it's something that we mentioned about the Panthers in the past, is there enough goals in that squad? But at the same time, the goals are being spread out, which I'm quite happy with. I would rather have a team than a couple of individuals running away and not much secondary scoring. We seem to have a team of secondary scorers, although Ollie Betteridge has had an unbelievable start to the season. And he's the highest points and goal scorer for Panthers at the minute. I think as long as plenty of the team are contributing on the score sheet, I don't think individual accolades matter that much as regards who is in the top 10, who's in the top 20, etc., etc. I just want to see more and more. I just want to see more and more scoring from throughout the team. and that includes the defence as well. As long as goals are being scored, I don't particularly care where they're coming from. And also, if um, if the goals are coming, then there's not really an issue as far as I'm concerned. We could probably do with scoring more, but I think you found with the last full season that we had, when Sam Hare was here, the number of times he had to pick the team up by the scruff of his neck on his own and score. But particularly think that New Year's Eve game against Coventry, where he scored 4 goals. He was absolutely unbelievable that night. But the number of times he had to do it, it put a lot of pressure on him to perform every single game. And I think if you're not putting pressure on 1 or 2 players, I think that's good. If you're scoring on points from throughout the team from all the lines, then I think you've got a better balance. Obviously, it would be nice to have someone who you could probably look to score those really important goals, but at the same time, as long as someone's scoring, I don't think it really matters about the individual scoring tables. I think it's the overall scoring that you've got to look at. I do think we are probably a little light in that respect overall, but I'm not too concerned at the minute. It is the way I would look at that. Okay, final question coming in. If you've got any more, please do pop them in the chat or pop them into my Twitter, which is @JohnO'Bullard. Just see what Anthony's saying. He says the time is coming in the next few years where we'll have both Hazeltine boys on. Couldn't agree more. Archie is doing really well at Leeds, and he's a great talent as well. He's Joe Hazeltine's younger brother. I think within 5 years, I think both will be in the Great Britain squad, definitely. And Anthony, I think this is regarding the Glasgow situation. Being upset is fine, but you can be upset and see the other side of it. Not like they're doing it because they want to. No, I totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. So, final question comes from who is the owner of the Steelers Stats site. I think it's Steelers-stats.com. I think, but a great site if you need any Steelers stats. I've been on there and had a look in the past, and it is anything you want to find out stats wise about the Steelers, it is there. So do check it out. But being a stats fiend as Robert is, he asks a stats related question. He says, the Elite League site is not as spot on with stats this year. I find it's hard to trust them. Do you think things have changed down there? I don't know, but I have seen a few concerns about stats within the Elite League. There's a thread on THF, the hockey forum, regarding stat collation. And I think I saw something on the Cage forum as well. And I've seen a few bits on Twitter as well. I could be wrong, but I don't think the EIHL Statos, which was Ronnie Nickel, are doing it anymore. I'm not 100% sure on that, but they seem to have the stats. So I don't know if that has changed. I think it maybe has. But I do know that what the Elite League are trying to do is get more and more stats. So these things like not just shots on goal, all shots are collated. Time on ice, I think they're looking at collating. The plus minus, they're collating. And the thing is, that's all run by volunteers. So I think you have to cut a little bit of slack because people who aren't getting paid are giving up their time to do all this. Now, I think there is you can probably look at some improvement, like where there seems to be discrepancy in the number of assists or goal scorers, or I've seen a lot of unassisted goals given this year when there's clearly been assists beforehand. And maybe that's something that can look at. And I think it's something that is probably done later via video where the goals are looked at again. But yeah, obviously, I like stats, but I'm not massively into doing stats. But I know that people really are interested and do a lot of stats throughout the season. And someone like Robert, who has that Steelers stats site, accurate stats, is what he needs to keep his site up to date. So something probably has changed there. I'm not sure what, but I do know that they are trying to sort of improve the output by putting more and more different stats uh, on, and again, a lot of it is run by volunteers. Um, but I did see something where people are like offered help and they're not being got back to, or they've not had any communication, which is a bit off if that's the case. But if people are offering help, then take it up. Is what I would say on that. Okay. Any more questions before we go? 35 minutes we've been going. A pleasure to have your company this evening once again. We will be back next week as usual. Hopefully, same place, same time, Tuesday at 9 o'clock. Don't forget about Paul's article that I mentioned earlier. So, paulbaumwriter.wordpress.com. And I think it is called Executive Decisions. I think the article is called. So, do go and check that out. Give another 20 or 30 seconds for any more questions to come through. And if not, Colin Lundy, just getting one in on Twitter pops up. What will Shane Owen's final save percentage be? Who knows? He's faced an incredible amount of shots. I was looking at the goalie stats the other day, actually, and I was amazed to see that I think Kevin Carr was about 7th place, and he was high 91% save percentage. So the netminders are having a stonking year so far. But I know Shane Owen has faced a lot of shots, but I think he's single-handedly kept the score down in a lot of 5 games. I know a lot of people said that about the game they played against Sheffield last Wednesday, where I think they lost 5-1, but they said if it hadn't been for Shane Owen, it could have been well into double figures. So he's in great form, at the moment. Tommy says, I know I sent it as a joke earlier, but do I or anyone have an idea why Panthers are tweeting without capital letters? No one seems to understand. I'm 28. I am not down with the kids anymore. I haven't got a clue. I have not got a clue why. I'm sure all will be revealed. There'll be some sort of code, but I'm too old and got too much on to try and work it out at the minute. So, unfortunately, I don't know why they're doing it. Anthony Russell, new one for me out tomorrow as well. Yes, so anything EIHL related, check out Anthony Russell. The banners on the wall, what's current stream, which will be 8 o'clock tomorrow. Look out for banners OTW on Twitter. That will take you straight to that broadcast, 8 p.m. tomorrow. Always worth checking out for all NIHL news. And Scott, 500D always seem to find absolute gems in the netminding department. Yeah, I mean, Owen's been there for a while and always been a good netminder. But Adam Morrison at Dundee looks a really great find as well. A really good netminder. You're right, they do find some good netminders. Who was it who went from Dundee and then later played in the SHL? Can't think of his name. About probably 3 or 4 seasons. But yeah, they do tend to find some absolute gems. And Matt Ginn at Manchester as well, who I think is a superb netminder. Really, really good netminder. I think we actually seem to be blessed with a really good crop of netminders in the elite league this season, as the stats sort of hold out. Well, look, I couldn't believe that when I saw Kevin Carr's percentage was about 91.8. And he was 7th in the rankings, which was like, wow. Riopol, yes, I think that might have been it. Riopol. Okay, nearly 40 minutes, so it's time to go. Thank you so much for joining me again this week. It's great to have your company. Or was it Backler? No, Backler. That's right. It was Backler. Nice one. Yeah, I'll be able to sleep now. Okay, everyone, have a great rest of the week. Enjoy your hockey wherever you're watching it this weekend. Won't say too much at the end, but if you are watching the webcast between Manchester and Panthers on Sunday, you may hear a familiar voice, but that's all I'll say on that this time. But it's great to have your company again. Have a great week. And I'll speak to you again next week. Take care.